back, and if you're new, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Amanda.
And today we are filming our very first buddy review.
We did a poll over on our Instagram asking you guys which book we should buddy read this month, and you guys voted for The Cruel Prince.
We have been wanting to read this book for a long time. We're sure if you guys clicked on this video, you've probably already read this series, but if you haven't yet, the story follows Jude and her twin sister along with their older sister. Vivi is actually half fairy, and Jude and her twin are human. Basically, when our story starts, the three sisters are kidnapped and brought into this fairy world where they live for about a decade. That is where the initial plot starts, and you just see them trying to adapt to this new way of living. Jude and her twin sister actually attend school with the other fairies. Of course, when you're in this magical land, all of the creatures and fairies are not as accepting to humans, so they get bullied, especially by the Cruel Prince and his group of friends.
The main plot of this story is that the current king is retiring or stepping off the throne, and this big coronation is going to happen, and we're just waiting to see which one of his sons is going to take his place.
And that's pretty much the entire storyline.
That's the story.
That's the whole book.
So without spoiling anything, I right off the bat just feel like if I hadn't read ACOTAR, I wouldn't know what's happening. Because there wasn't a lot of world building, as we discussed earlier. It was just kind of like you're thrown into this. If this was the first fantasy I read,
it'd be very confusing.
It would be very confusing because I don't think a lot was explained.
Right. Since this is our first review, we think we're going to split up the video and first talk about all of the things and aspects we liked about the book and the story, and then we'll move on to things we didn't love as much and explain why, and then kind of wrap it up at the end. Overall, I'm not mad at it. I'm glad I finally read it. I'm in the know. I know these characters now. I just constantly go into these popular book talk books with such high expectations, and I need to stop doing that. Starting with the things that we like. I liked that the fairy world existed alongside our human world during a modern time period. When you see them go back and forth from the fairyland into the normal world, they're going to like the mall, which we talked about we liked. They're at like JCPenney and Target, and they talk about like eating in the food court and just doing like everyday mall things, and I thought that aspect was cool.
That was definitely something I liked. You go from this whole other world that we know nothing about, and then here they are going to Target and the toy section. I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So that was like the first thing I noticed right off the bat, and I was like, I really like that, and the fact that they can easily go back and forth. I like that it was realistic with the characters because Vivian, their oldest sister, was obviously older when they were kidnapped, so she has more memories of her human life. For the twins, Jude and her sister, they were so young that this fairyland became their home because that's where they mostly grew up. They have a Vivian throughout this entire book doesn't want to conform to this life. She wants to go back home to like what she's used to, and Jude and her sister are really trying to be accepted here.
That is realistic. Yeah, like you would love the person who took care of you and the place that you grew up.
Whereas Vivian the whole time was constantly trying to go against whatever he wanted. She didn't want to like support him or like be on good terms.
The king has a bunch of kids, and Carden is the youngest one. Him and his friends in school just kind of bully everyone. They have a really high head. They just think they are everything. I guess they are.
Right, I mean, they're just too power hungry.
Yeah.
And but I like how they incorporated that because they are still in like school, and that's very much how someone of that power would act.
Yeah.
He is our Cruel Prince, by the way, if we didn't say. Humans exist in the fairy world, but they have their own separate school. Since their father works in the king's court, he wanted them to be treated as all the other fairy kids, so he let them go to school with the other fairies, and that's very realistic of the fact that Carden and his friends are like, you guys don't belong here.
Just targeting her out automatically. In that sense, that was really realistic.
Yes, I agree.
I did like how they had a character in Carden's group of friends who we don't really know, can we trust him, right? Because they would all bully everybody, and then we would see this character looks caring and like he might not truly like his friends. I feel like a lot of times he was incorporated in the book where we're not sure, like, can we trust him or can we not trust him? Is he a good guy just hanging out with these people? That happens a lot in real life too.
Yeah. Another thing I liked is that the whole book was in Jude's point of view. I thought she was a good one to follow. I really did like Vivian. Her perspective would have been really cool, especially since she has a conflict of like wanting to be in the real world, but being half fairy. And actually, they should have done that.
They should have.
For this one, I initially liked Jude's point of view just because I just liked that she was really determined. She wanted to prove herself to everyone. She wanted to be accepted. I did like that Carden in the beginning was actually cruel. Like, he was a mean person. A lot of times when you hear, like, enemies to lovers, the enemy part isn't really...
It's mostly just miscommunication.
Yeah. And this was, like, very much bully romance.
Yeah.
So I liked that at least he was cruel in the beginning. Overall, I liked the book. Solid read. There's some good characters.
I feel like it could only go up from here.
Right. After the first A Court of Thorns and Roses, I'll never judge a fantasy series based on the first book. But definitely by the time I finished this book, I was in no way, like, needing to read the next one. Let us know if the second one is better, or if you recommend us reading the next one, like, soon.
I don't know. I'll have to read the next one, honestly. This one was okay. It was fine. I felt like there was a lot of flaws, but it was still cute. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some things that we didn't love. My problem was the world building. There was no explanation on a lot of things. I had to use my knowledge from ACOTAR and kind of figure out what they're meaning through that book, which is kind of ridiculous.
In fantasy, obviously there's a lot of subgenres, and fairy and fairy world, like, is one of those subgenres. It's just done frequently. I didn't think anything in this one stood out to me in the sense of that. Like you said, there's no explanations about anything. With other fantasy series, I can picture the world perfectly, and with this, I feel like I still don't know.
I feel like I truly didn't imagine anything.
Right.
I was just kind of reading words, and normally in books I can completely imagine a movie happening in my head, but this, there was no explanation, so there's no way that you can truly picture what this world looks like, and that is not okay.
That sucks, yeah. One of the other things I really like is the magic systems in the different stories. I wanted to know how their magic worked, what all it entailed, and we know that fairies have some sort of power, but they never go in detail about what their powers are, how they're used. We have, like, a little bit of what humans can do or wear in order to, like, reject charms and spells, but, like, we don't know how that works or why that works.
Yeah, they never explained what is your power.
Like, yeah, I'm still
I could just tell you anything and you'll do it.
I don't know.
Compel you.
I have no idea. So that I really was disappointed in, because I love the magic aspects of books, and I wasn't getting that. Descriptions for any of it. Even they had so many different creatures, magical creatures. It wasn't just fairies. They had, I think they mentioned, like, goblins, or
they had an
imp, like, but they not only did they not describe what those characters or creatures looked like, but they also never explained, like, just anything about them. So they would mention all these names or characters, and then they wouldn't mention them again. So it was kind of just, like, really random that they were introducing all these people and things and then never talked about it again.
That was a big problem for me with all of the King's Children. We hear all of these names once, and then towards the end there's, like, this big scene that happens, and these names are getting thrown at us. But I'm like, who is this?
I literally had no idea who these people were.
Who is this person?
Yeah.
I have no idea who this person is, because we didn't get to see anything about them, really.
Yeah. There was no, like, substance behind each of the characters or even the important ones. So I had a hard time picking up on names.
There was a lot of names.
I didn't know who in the family was who, or who married who, or was sleeping with someone else. Like, I had no idea. I saw someone say that Taryn, which is Jude's twin sister, was basically completely useless, and if she wasn't in the book, then everything would have been the same. And I just think that's so funny, because it is true. I feel like the sisters were supposed to be the three main people we were following, and Taryn just didn't add anything to the story. I'm wondering if she'll have a bigger part in, like, the next book or something, but in this one, it was definitely not. Yeah.
I hope she doesn't have any part.
I wish we saw more of Vivian, because her life, I feel like, would be a lot more interesting to read about.
I don't know why going into this I expected romance. Like, a good amount of romance in this. I wouldn't even call this a romance book.
Yeah, there was hardly anything.
And when there was something, I felt like it was very random.
There was just nothing built up to have me wanting this relationship to happen.
Yeah, and I don't care about Carden. I care about him, but not in a sense that's like romantic and I want them to be together. I'm not rooting for you.
I think there needed to be more explanations, more character development. I needed to see more of like who this man was, why we want to root for him. I didn't give a sense.
I saw someone in the reviews say they kept referring to him as charming. Never once did we see him be charming.
I think the concept was good. I don't even mind that it was just one plot the whole time. If you're gonna do one plot, give us all the details, make us care about this one event. Like, I wanted to be in this immersive world and I wanted to like be wrapped up in this plot, and I wasn't. It still wasn't a bad read. I was just expecting so much more from it, especially with the hype that it does have online. I was expecting this to be like one of my new favorites.
It was fine. I definitely think I will read the next one because I think it could really only get better from here. Honestly, that's true because like where it ended, I think it ended at a good place, and the next book would probably be really interesting.
Definitely let us know in the comments if you've read this book and you do recommend we just keep on reading, and let us know if you like the other two books more than the first one. Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below.
Okay, so that is going to be it for today's video.
Hopefully you enjoyed this sit down kind of review video since it's our first one.
This is way easier for us than how we were doing it.
The read with us videos were just a lot because we were constantly trying to let you guys know every single little thing that happened, where this was just more of like an overall summary and what we thought about the book as one, which I think is a lot more effective. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, we do put out new videos every Wednesday and Friday, so if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. It's just thrown at you.
Yeah,
like now you're supposed to believe this.
What? What?
That's how I felt.